again, it is, October 11th in game, but today it's Thanksgiving night. That's right. It's me, Mikey Bro here. Welcome to Tuesday Night Prime, Episode 7. This is Prime Wrestling. Let's get straight into the action. We're going to open up with a Women's World Championship qualifier match that sees Chris Statlander lose to Chelsea Green. Some overness and some drop in overall. Africa still with the zeros. 1 star, 60 overall. This is the first show since the new update that we've actually ran. So 60 to kick it off. Chelsea Green with the victory. She will be advancing. Alright, next up we quickly see the Bella Twins backstage as the camera finds Brie and Nikki, as well as Victoria's in the back, complaining about not being in the Prime Wrestling Women's Championship Tournament. And 83 overall with the Bellas and Victoria AF, of course, Victoria as fuck. 83 overall with the final score. The star power added to the beat. Popularity boost throughout. Alright, next up we have Morrow and John Bradshaw Leifo welcome us to the show. Morrow says, well, actually didn't say, but they run down the victory of Chelsea Green in the Prime Wrestling World Championship Tournament and what it means going forward as Chelsea Green has advanced into the second round and will be taking on Candice LeRae at Tuesday Night Prime Ghoulish, which is kind of, as we discussed last time, like our NXT or like our even AEW Winter is Coming or Halloween Havoc, not pay-per-views per se, but our premium live events per se, but kind of mid pay-per-view bigger shows. The guys then comment on the Bella's backstage involvement and their obvious desire to be involved with the ranks of Prime Women's Wrestling Championship Division. Morrow and JBL then talked about what happened last week as it relates to Mustafa Ali, and how he will be taking on Rey Mysterio in the Prime Wrestling World Champion in the main event. Non-title, but he'll be taking him on 88% overall. Alright. Next up, we fade backstage as we see Shayna Baszler walk up to Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke. Obviously, Shafir and Duke have been on the brand for a while, but Shayna Baszler walks up there. The 3 horsewomen, maybe, of the apocalypse here in AEW, in Prime Wrestling, 64%. Next up, we have Logan Paul taking on Darren Kearney, with Logan Paul getting the victory here. 2.5 star match, 65% overall. The referee work looked good, and the announcing worked great. If you can see here too, the match quality here, we have the 2.5 stars, and it's a little off. The graphics a little off. So since the update, things have been a little off in terms of visually. We'll continue to kind of tweak around and see if we can change some of this. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with some of this since the update. There's been some graphic weirdities, if you will. 65% overall. As the match ends, we have Logan Paul grabbing a microphone and he says, "Moxley, that's how you do it." The fans boo as taunting John Moxley has began. When you're good, but when you're great, you're Logan Paul. As Logan Paul continues to taunt, though, John Moxley's music hits and he shows up on the wrench, wrenching his neck only as Moxley can do. 74% overall. Alright, but of course, because this is how it's been going and been building, Bully Ray nails John Moxley from behind. He takes a step out, and out of nowhere, he's sent down the barrier. Bully is even surprised by this as Logan Paul makes his way up and begins taunting Moxley as, again, Moxley kind of hit the side of the railing here. Logan is slow, but eventually does follow as well, and it's brutal. So John Moxley and Logan Paul are continuing to build towards their eventual match. Bully Ray obviously playing in between here. 76 overall, and the brawl pushed everyone up about a half or to a quarter of a point here. 76 overall. Alright, next up we got a hype video where Rey Mysterio is taking on Mustafa Ali in the main event. 100% overall. Some popularity boost overall. 100%. Next up, we have Manus Black getting the victory over Laredo Kid. Africa, it's still 0. The crowd was red hot. 78% overall. 3.5 star match. So this was fantastic here. After the match, though, we fade backstage as we see Braun Strowman backstage with Renee Paquette. It's short and sweet, and Braun has challenged after facing Brian Myers, after facing Matt Cardona, after the drama that's been ensuing, to 2-on-1 handicap match, so he can keep his eyes on both of them at the same time at Tuesday Night Prime Ghoulish. 84% overall. Obviously, Ghoulish, a pay-per-view theme that revolves around Halloween. Again, we're not there in we're not quite to where we're at in real life in terms of game, in terms of where the actual date is. All right. Next up, we have Batista walking up to Kurt Angle and the Good Brothers. The camera fades in, and with the coming Dave Batista, it rotates, showing Kurt Angle hanging out with Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. Obviously, Kurt Angle beat Anderson last week in his debut match. He shakes the hands of Anderson and Gallows, and the pair part ways. Dave Batista asks Kurt Angle, fixing his suit, "You took the bag as well." Obviously, talking about Kurt Angle coming out of retirement to join Prime Wrestling. Kurt just smirks. He says the passion to wrestle professionally again was too good to pass up, says Kurt Angle, kind of playing with Batista, but kind of getting where he's going here. Batista simply nods, not believing Kurt, but kind of gets it. Batista says, "I got it. Competition. Good to have you here, Kurt." Batista taps on Kurt's chest and says all softly, "See you around." Batista leaves Kurt to his devices as the scene fades out, lingering on Kurt's face. So, obviously, surprise, not surprise, Kurt Angle and Dave Batista are building towards involvement with one another. The bald bastards, actually everyone's bald here, are building towards a big match. Carl Anderson obviously talking to Kurt Angle backstage with Luke Gallows, obviously after last week, them kind of embracing after Kurt Angle's return, his big victory as it relates to debuting here in Prime Wrestling. So just kind of, baby faces welcoming the competition, this and that. And Batista coming in there and being like, "Hey, what up, Kurt?" Basically saying his eyes on him. Batista's obviously been checking out Kurt Angle through the vignettes for a while, so that's where we're going with this. But Ocean did not like Batista, apparently. Bumps throughout, except for that one. They were like, "Nah, we don't like you, Big Dave." So 73 overall here. And in the main event, we have Rey Mysterio winning via the disqualification through interference of Mark Haskins. That's right, that Mark Haskins, as we saw earlier. All right, 70% overall. As the match ends, Mustafa and Ali begin a 2-on-1 assault of Rey Mysterio. The fans boo, items actually being thrown around until Johnny Prime comes out of nowhere and makes his ramp and cleans house of Mustafa and Mark Haskins. Prime steps up, helps Mysterio, and as the referee hands him the Prime Wrestling World Championship to get back to Rey Mysterio, Prime stares at the championship for a few seconds before handing it to Rey. 65% of all. I'm really, it's not a huge deal here because obviously Rey Mysterio, with Mustafa, have been getting into it. Mark Haskins, obviously, backstage, has had his rathers with Mysterio as well. And Johnny Prime's kind of, since their match on the second edition, has been kind of messing around with Rey as it relates to being good guy, bad guy. But really just stacking up for him. So we do got some bumps throughout for all the guys. Rey Mysterio, surprisingly, in Mexico, minus 70 here, which is ridiculously weird, given that's where he's most over. But it's 65% overall to end the show, and I guess I'm going to lean to it being on Mustafa. Excuse me. It's just going to be Mustafa, guys. That's how I'm saying it. It's going to be Mustafa and Mark Haskins here. I just can't remember to say Mustafa, but regardless, to end the show, we have Prime and Mysterio kind of siding off against Haskins and Ali. All right, 65 overall. What did we get for the show? We got 74 overall, and again, interesting, 40 in North America, 0.13, 0.15, 0.13, 0.30, no popularity change in Africa, which is interesting because this is, again, the first time in the new updated version of the game where we ran an edition of Tuesday Night Prime, and, it was a solid, if unspectacular edition. But until next time, it is me, Mikey Bro, wishing you guys a glorious rest of your day, a great Thanksgiving weekend, and we will be back sooner rather than later this time around as we have a little bit of time off with another edition of Prime Wrestling. Thanks for watching, everyone.